husband's doing something, if he's allegedly doing something like this, you guys would know if your wives were up to some nefarious stuff. But let's just not forget who she is. She's been, for years, lecturing America about morality, inequality, systemic failures. And look at her track record. How many times does she have to go on in the past 2 months and look at the camera and do a legal apology?
You're sipping your coffee, scrolling through your usual news feed, when one name catches your eye, Sunny Hostin. But this time, it's not her usual fiery commentary on The View, it's something much worse. Her husband, Dr. Emmanuel Tin, is at the center of one of the largest RICO cases in New York history. Dr. Tin, a renowned orthopedic surgeon, is allegedly involved in insurance fraud, illegal kickbacks, and a lawsuit that includes nearly 200 people. If the charges stick, it could lead to federal prison time. While scandals like this often make headlines, what turned this story into a media frenzy was Joe Rogan. He didn't hesitate to call out Hostin on his podcast, accusing her of hypocrisy. He pointed out the irony of her moral crusading on television while her husband faces serious criminal charges. Rogan didn't hold back, even taking shots at The View, labeling it one of the dumbest shows on TV and joking that if you added up the hosts' IQs, you'd be hard-pressed to hit triple digits.
Average out The View hosts, among the dumbest people on television.
Sunny's dumb. Certainly not the brightest person. And what she just said just doesn't make any sense. It's just like so silly to say. It's not a well thought out. It's like if you had an idea for a premise and it was totally baked and half baked and you went on stage with it and it's nothing.
Just
there.
go for it. Yeah.
Fans couldn't get enough. The internet exploded with memes, debates, and hot takes. Some rallied behind Sunny, arguing she wasn't responsible for her husband's actions, while others sided with Rogan, applauding him for calling out The View for its relentless criticism of others, all while turning a blind eye to their own scandals. So, what exactly is Dr. Tin accused of? How did he end up at the center of such a massive case, and why is this RICO lawsuit a bigger deal than most realize? Let's dive in. Before all the drama, Dr. Emmanuel Manny Tin wasn't exactly a household name. He was just another well-regarded doctor in New York with a shining resume. He earned his medical degree from Johns Hopkins University, one of the most prestigious institutions in the country, before specializing in orthopedic surgery and sports medicine. Over the years, he built a solid reputation, treating both athletes and everyday patients. He even opened his own practice, Tin Orthopedics and Sports.
Doctors suffer because of big corporations as well. Doctors that want to do good, like my husband, operates on someone even though they don't have insurance, and then has to sue health insurance companies to get paid for the work that he's been trained his whole life to do. So there are a lot of problems with it. But the notion that we are in a violent country, this country was built on violence. We're a very violent country. And it's just undeniable that that's the case. And so I'm not, unfortunately, surprised that people are celebrating
medicine in Manhattan. But beyond his medical career, there was more to his story. Dr. Emmanuel Tin had been in the public eye mostly because of his wife, Sunny Hostin, co-host of The View. The couple married in 1998 and built a seemingly perfect life, successful careers, 2 kids, and a bond that appeared unbreakable. Their son, Gabriel, is currently studying at Harvard, while their daughter, Paloma, is at Cornell. To many, they seemed like the ultimate power couple. That's what makes this scandal so devastating. Before all this, Dr. Tin was a respected, well-educated surgeon with a stellar reputation. Now, his name is tied to one of the largest medical fraud cases in New York's history, and his once pristine image is unraveling fast. Dr. Tin isn't just facing a lawsuit, he's caught up in one of the most significant RICO cases in New York's history. This isn't your average malpractice claim, this is a federal case accusing him and nearly 200 others of running a multi-million-dollar fraud ring that
always do the pointing, and it always comes back to them, all right? So when you said this is the largest RICO case ever filed in the state of New York, you guys wrap that around your brain. That's bigger than the mafia case. Like the mafia one was number 1. This one takes it over. So he was scamming insurance companies from taxi drivers, Uber drivers, and Lyft drivers. He was performing unnecessary surgeries and then providing fraudulent medical services.
Exploited loopholes in New York's insurance system. The scope of the accusations is staggering, and if convicted, Dr. Tin could face significant prison time. The lawsuit was filed by American Transit Insurance Company, which provides coverage for taxi, Uber, and Lyft drivers. The claims against Dr. Tin and his associates are damning. According to the lawsuit, they manipulated New York's no-fault insurance law to secure massive payouts. This law mandates that insurance companies cover medical expenses for drivers involved in accidents, regardless of who's at fault. Dr. Tin and his co-defendants allegedly exploited this rule by billing for surgeries and procedures that were either unnecessary or, in some cases, never even performed. The accusations are brutal. Dr. Tin is being portrayed as a doctor who prioritized profits over patients, allegedly pressuring many low-income rideshare drivers into surgeries they didn't need instead of recommending physical therapy or non-invasive treatments. The lawsuit claims he
that has a policy. I mean, I'm not saying that Joe Rogan should be removed from Spotify. He's got 11 million listeners. He's got $100 million, contract as of 2020. But I do think as the podcast platform, you have to have some sort of guidelines. How about a disclaimer on his podcast that says, this is misinformation? How about removing some of the podcasts that disseminate this misinformation?
They have.
And that's
fast-track patients to the operating table for high-revenue procedures, regardless of necessity, just to rack up the largest insurance payouts. As if that weren't enough, Dr. Tin is also accused of being part of a kickback scheme where he and other doctors allegedly received illegal payments for patient referrals. The more patients they sent for procedures, the more money they made, regardless of whether those procedures were justified. But perhaps the most shocking part of the case is the scale of the operation, which appears to have been a vast
lawsuit obtained by Page Six. The orthopedic surgeon was one of 200 defendants named in one of the biggest racketeer influence and corrupt organization cases ever filed in New York. Emmanuel was accused of federal insurance fraud and, quote, getting kickbacks by performing surgery and billing a company that insured taxi companies.
This lawsuit isn't just going after a few doctors, it's targeting nearly 200 defendants, making it one of the largest RICO cases ever filed in New York. The RICO Act, originally meant to take down mafia organizations, is now being used to pursue medical professionals. The scale of this case is so huge that it actually exceeds some of the biggest mafia trials in the state's history. If these allegations are proven in court, the consequences could be devastating. Dr. Tin and the other defendants face potential years in prison, the loss of their medical licenses, and millions in damages. For a man who built a career as a top orthopedic surgeon, this case could destroy everything he's worked for. While Dr. Tin battles these legal troubles, there's another angle to this story: his wife, Sunny Hostin. She's built her career around calling out corruption and wrongdoing. Yet, now, she remains silent on the scandals surrounding her husband.